create my own custom exception, which is known as my exception. You can give it any name, okay? My exception, your exception, whatever exception you want. Or if it is doing certain specific functionality, then you can give it that name also. It is not necessary to give it a name as exception, like my exception or any exception, but it is a good practice that you create it as exception. We are not going to execute this file. This is only a exception which I am creating, which I will be using in our code. Okay, so when you are creating your own custom exception, there is a necessary criteria that it should be a child class of either exception or whatever type of exception you are trying to create. Like it should be a child class of exception or runtime exception or arithmetic exception, whatever. So if you will create it of type, let's say runtime exception, then this exception you will be only able to deal with runtime exceptions. Okay, so I want to deal with it in all type of situations. So that's why I will say extends exception means it is a child class of exception. So it is also a exception like that, because you know that all the exceptions are nothing but child class of exception class. After that, let's say I'm creating a constructor here. My exception. Okay, and I'm just writing here something. I'm creating a very simple exception. Okay, this is my exception. Okay, Control S, and then my exception is ready. Now I want to work with it. Okay, so let's say I will create a class where I will be dealing with this exception. So I will create a new class, and let's say this class is, you can give this class any name. Let's say exception test class or my exception test class. You can work with this in exception in n number of classes, not a problem. Now here, see here mainly we will see the significance of throw keyword, okay? So suppose I am taking a certain variable, let's say int age is equal to 14, and I am giving here a criteria if age is, let's say, less than 18, then if age is less than 18, then I want to throw an exception. Okay, suppose I don't want to give any condition or I don't want to give any runtime error, I want to throw an exception. So what I will say, throw new my exception. Okay, my exception. So here see throw keyword is useful when I explicitly want to throw any exception. Okay, and here also you will have to add the throws declaration first, like throws my exception and then throw here new my exception. See what is the difference between throws and throw is, throws you will use with method signature, throw you will use inside method body, throws you will use with class name, like my exception is the class name, throw you will use with the object. If you can see new my exception, it is a object. It is an anonymous object. Anonymous object means what? The object which has no reference. It is a object. So throw is always used inside the method with a object to throw any type of exception. See, it is not like throw you can use only with a custom exception, only with my exception. No. You can write throw new null pointer exception also. Throw new exception also. It is valid. So after that we will say, let's say else If age is less than 18, then it will throw an exception. Otherwise, it will simply print that eligible for, let's say, voting. Okay. Now let's run it right now. What we will get? We will get this is my exception, obviously, at line number 10, because age is less than 18. Okay, so this is how you will deal with a custom exception. Here, if you see, you are getting com.myException. This is my exception test Java 10. Means the same way as you deal with the inbuilt exceptions, now you are dealing with your own exception. So this way you can create any exception of your own. You can give a certain criteria in which you will throw your own exception. If suppose we correct everything, let's say age is 20, then eligible for voting. Because there is no exception, so it will not throw anything. Everything is perfect. If the criteria which you are giving is not fulfilled, then it will throw the exception, which is your own exception. So this is how you can deal with it, custom exception, with the throw keyword. Now, if you want to write it inside a try catch block, that also you can do.